because everything we said here is 1,000% accurate about the financial system, right down to what the brokers will not let you get out of the system. They want to keep you in the system. The system. The US dollar is no longer backed by oil. Saudis reneged. So we're backed by air. The Federal Reserve System is backed by air. Now, if that makes you sleep good at night when you look at your 401ks, your IRA, and your bank account, people, you better be freaked out, is what you should be. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Today is June 3rd, 2026. We are stepping into June, and what an incredible time to be alive. We are seeing just incredible things manifesting across this world, and yet we still are seeing price manipulation, or a better word, suppression, to prevent God's money, silver and gold, Haggai 2:8, from exploding in price. But boy, I just want to say this. The Lord's been so adamant for me to tell everybody this one thing. You're about to be celebrating like you have never celebrated before, okay? We are about to step into the greatest time in human history. We are so close that it's so exciting. So with that said, I'm so blessed to have Andrew Sorchini come on with us because, again, God says, God says in Scripture, Haggai 2:8, the silver is mine. Notice silver first. The gold is mine, saith the Lord. And yes, when God flips the financial scales, okay, the writing on the wall, when God flips the financial system, it is going to be marked by an explosion of biblical proportions with regards to silver. And we are seeing the ring of fire heating up right now. There's a lot of volcanic activity. There's a lot of things to discuss. And again, God has stated specifically that when silver explodes, it's going to rip the roof off of $121, and it's tied into a volcanic event. Let that sink in. So, Andrew, welcome to the show.
Wow, it's been a really interesting market that we've been watching. And like we've said so many times, Bo, when you and I talk before you hit record, sometimes that's when the very best topics come up. And I was just venting frustration that silver is still being manipulated. And you pointed out something that I haven't heard anybody mention yet, which is Donald Trump still doesn't have control of the financial system. It's only been a year and a half, so that does make sense. He's behind gold and silver. He is. The first words out of his mouth in the inaugural speech was, the golden era of America begins right now. So we've not drifted from that. It's just he doesn't have control of it yet.
Therefore, we haven't seen, let this sink in, everybody, we haven't yet seen the birth of the golden age. Okay. When God moves, Scripture tells us, come on, Isaiah 61, the year of the Lord's favor. But there's a day of vengeance, a 24-hour window where God shows up and he flips the scales on the financial system. What does that mean? Okay. It's also the health system. But what this specifically means is God intervenes and changes the course of history that we're on right now. And like we said, like Andrew, we've talked about this so often about, these roofs that, silver goes up, it hits a roof, it comes back down, it hits the floor and it bounces around. What are we seeing right now? Since January, it hit $121. It dropped by roughly 50%. It dropped to like $60 range. And as we sit right now, it's bouncing around between $80 and $60 or $70. It's just bouncing around. And they're going to keep that game going. I get, until the saying is until the cows come home, okay? Until hell freezes over. Why? Because their only one thing that they want to do is maintain the supremacy of the US dollar, because they can create it out of thin air. We've talked about this. I don't need to go down the rabbit hole again, but they can create it out of thin air. Look what they've been doing since the 70s and the price of your home from the 70s to present day. Look at the prices of cars. It's an ever expanding money system of just money creation, period. So they will never let the dollar plunge, collapse, okay? And they will, for that reason, because they can create this and enslave humanity on a belief that a dollar, Federal Reserve System is money. It's just a belief. It's a lie, but it's a belief that it's money. So as long as the world believes it's money, and the world keeps checking their 401ks, checking their IRAs, checking their bank accounts, and seeing how many digits they got in there, the devil's winning. They got them deceived that that's money. But when God shows up, this is the greatest part, okay? We're about to see an act of God. I'm telling you, we are about to see an act of God where God's about to intervene. And when he does, we're going to see air gaps in silver. This is what he told me. We're going to see air gaps. It's just, you're going to wake up and it's going to be sitting up in the sky in terms of price. You wake up the next day, it's higher again. And it's just going to be gapping and exploding like you haven't seen before. Why would it do that, Andrew? Because it leads to what's called true price discovery. If something's been manipulated for thousands of years, Andrew, let's say hundreds of years, what do you think true price discovery on silver would look like? It's the number one manipulated asset on the globe. So imagine true price discovery. Just talk about it for fun. That's just for fun. What true price discovery on an asset that was been manipulated for hundreds of years? What do you think that price would happen?
Well, I mean, I could use one example, and this is one that I actually got from you sometime last year. So back in 1980, silver was sitting at $50 an ounce, a little bit less than that. So almost $50 an ounce, and gold was at about $800 an ounce. At that time, you could have bought a new car for $5,000. So you use the house example, but back then you could buy a new car. I'm talking like something like a Toyota or a Ford or a Chevy. You could buy a new car for $5,000. And when silver hit $50 here mid last year, when it finally was able to break through 50 for the first time ever, I would say that a new car is going to cost about 4 times that amount. So minimum.
No, actually, I would say 8. Because 4 would only be 20,000, right? Mm-hmm. So 8 would be like 40,000 up. So it's probably 8 to 10 times. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. No, it's okay. So if people are looking at a Tesla, it would be closer to about 10 times over. So using that same math, if you multiply a $5,000 car by 10, if a new Tesla costs $50,000, which I believe it does plus tax, then that means silver should be sitting at $50 times 10, should be sitting at $500. I mean, that's a true price discovery. And we can do that with many different things. We can do that with television sets. We can do it with everything out there. And it would be something similar. So there's only one reason that would explain why there's such a disconnect between how much more everything costs since 1980 compared to what it costs now. In this case, it's manipulation. It's very, very clear that it's manipulation. And I think, Bo, this would be a good time to talk about that article that I sent you that said that the central banks no longer favor U.S. bonds as their number one investment. And you don't hear people talk about this a lot on television when you put on the so-called mainstream news. We're not really taught this in school, but the foreign banks, since they're taking deposits from people that go and deposit funds into their bank, they invest those deposits. Typically, it's in real estate loans here in the United States, but there are other ways that they invest. One of the ways is for other countries is that the dollar for decades has been the most powerful currency in the world. Just decade after decade, it has been. So if you're a small country like Algeria, if you're a small country like some of these small European countries, you're looking for ways to be able to invest to the funds that are deposited in your banks. When you do that, the number one investment has always been U.S. bonds. It's like when you buy a CD here in America. Your money's locked up for a certain amount of time. You cannot lose. If you let it mature, you can get out of it, and now your money is worth more than it was when you started. That's how much of a slam dunk U.S. bonds have been. But now with global de-dollarization starting to really gain steam, these central banks are exiting those treasury bond trades. They now see that the dollar's losing buying power, that inflation is really hitting it hard, and they're going into gold. Now, if central banks are depositing or investing just millions or even billions of dollars into gold and silver, then all we need to do is just ride their coattails all the way to the top. It just seems like an easy enough decision.
And that is just simply based on physical facts that we can just talk about right now. This has nothing to do with an act of God, right? So just the events that Andrew's talking about are enough of a reason to be positioned in gold and silver. Okay, it's just the word positioned. And what have we said in all of our podcasts? Position yourself and wait. Period. Okay. And that's not investment advice. That's just literally, if you believe something's going to happen, position yourself and wait for it. Okay. So what have we been saying? We've said how many times for 4 years, silver's going to blow through $50. Everybody thought we were nuts, and we were 1,000% right. Okay. It went up to $121. People freaked out. Like, what the heck, right? So it went up to $121 in a matter of 6 weeks from $50, okay? So it skyrocketed and exploded. So again, and today as we speak, it's like 73 or whatever dollars is right now. Let me just pull a chart up on silver. So as we speak now, it's like roughly $73. 30 cents, okay? Point is, you see where it is right now? It's range bound. Look at that chart right there, okay? So it goes up to like, the upper limit there is 93. The lower limit supports right around 67. So guess what it's doing? No, just bouncing around, okay? And these ranges are so much larger, okay? So before, when we were talking silver, it would hit like $25, and then it would drop down to 20. And then we'll hit 25 again, and it would drop down to 20. So it was $5 range bound, and that was for 2 years. Now the range is from like 90 to like 60. So it's a $30 range. Let that sink in, okay? And so it's just bouncing around. And the people that run the money system, they're never going to let it blow through 93, because when it does, it's going to skyrocket to 120 very quickly. Look what it did in January. But the prophecy is, when this event happens, it's not going to stop at $121. Oh, no. What the prophecy is this thing is going to just explode through $121. Okay? That's the prophecy. Now, why I say that is why? Position yourself and wait upon the Lord. Okay? So if you think the money system of creating money out of thin air to infinity forever, they took us off the gold standard in 1971 with Nixon. And the crazy part, Nixon actually said, this is temporary. We played the video, Andrew. Okay, so I'm just excited because I know what's coming, and we're so close right now. Okay, so what I'm saying is, Nixon takes us off the gold standard. His video literally said, this will be temporary. It was 71. Then 73 or 74, we go on the Petrodollar contract with Saudi because of Kissinger, right? And guess what happened 50 years later? To nearly the exact day, Saudis reneged on re-signing the Petrodollar contract. We talked about this. It happened in June of 2024. Remember that, Andrew? So Saudis are no longer even part of the petrodollar contract. So my question is, what's backing the dollar except for air?
It's absolutely nothing. The dollar is backed by nothing, as are all fiat currencies for pretty much every country out there.
Yeah. Yeah. But this time around, we're not even backed by oil anymore. The US dollar is no longer backed by oil. Saudis reneged. So we're backed by air. The Federal Reserve System is backed by air. Now, if that makes you sleep good at night when you look at your 401ks, your IRA, and your bank account, people, you better be freaked out, is what you should be. Not going, oh, wow, I got this many digits in my bank account or this many digits in my 401k. Those digits are backed by air. It's true. I'm going to attach the link to show you Saudis reneged. They refused to re-sign the petrodollar contract. Andrew and I talked about this in June of 2024. So your digits that you're so proud of, your idol, those digits are backed by air. Let that sink in. Let it sink in, everybody, because that's what the truth is. But when you understand the truth will set you free. So understand, gold and silver have been money for thousands of years, 5,000 years, okay? History rhymes, history repeats, but history does one thing. It plays over. Ecclesiastes states that which has been, will be, not might be, not could be, no, will be again. And there is nothing new under the sun. And there's no, Andrew wrote a book. Andrew wrote a book about money. And so here's the QR code if you want to scan this, because you definitely want to scan this. But in that book, Andrew, and you can go from here, in that book, is there one currency that's lasted 1,000 years, 2,000 years, even 200 years? Is there any currency that's lasted more than the Federal Reserve System? Is there any currency that's ever lasted 1,000, 2,000 years aside from gold and silver?
There isn't. And if you scan that book and you download it, or scan the QR code and download the book, or even go to Amazon and buy a physical paperback copy, the first thing that I cover in the book is the history of money. I mean, there were times when like in Siam, they had like these Siamese boat money. It was just a hunk of metal about this big that looked like a canoe. And that was their actual currency. And that currency failed. There were many other types of currencies. They have all failed. There was seashells used as currency at one point, and that system failed. And the dollar will fail too, because we'll go to something that's digital, and hopefully we'll go to something that is backed by gold or silver or another precious metal at some point. I know that that's already in the works, but we're not trying to doomsday people and just sound like Chicken Little and say that the sky is falling. We're just letting you know that all currencies do fail in time. The US dollar is no different than the others. It's not a reflection of us as a country. It's not a sustainable model when you're printing them out of thin air to get yourself out of debt, and still you happen to be the strongest currency of all currencies that work under the same policy. So owning physical gold and silver truly does help you sleep at night, because you can convert it into cash anywhere in the world. And just to add to what Bo said about the Saudis reneging on the agreement, it was a 50-year contract where the Saudis actually agreed to initiate purchases and sale of oil in US dollars only. And in exchange, the United States military would protect Saudi Arabia. And after that was not renewed, exactly 50 years to the week, when it was not renewed, all of a sudden, Saudis starting to side with the BRICS nations. That's no coincidence. The BRICS nations have two main goals. The first one is to de-dollarize the globe. They started doing this when the United States weaponized the dollar by sanctioning Russia and Russian account holders in America after their attack on Ukraine. So it's clear now where Saudi Arabia stands. They've always been our friends. And now it seems Iran now is firing rockets now at 4 different countries. I saw last night they're firing on Kuwait, who's Saudi Arabia's neighbor, which is also a friend of ours. And that's probably why they're being attacked. But it's just like, I think we're seeing a massive reshuffling. This is it's like a horse race. Who was in the lead yesterday is not who's in the lead now. And we don't know who's going to be the winner in the finish line. But I do expect US will one up the rest of the world, but something will have to change here soon. And maybe it's what you've been saying, Bo, an act of God.
We need that. Okay. And why I say this is because, like what we talked about, as much as Trump wants to see, the cryptocurrencies come to light. Why? Because it's an honest transactions. You can see it. Okay. Why he wants gold and silver. He's always liked gold and silver. The problem is, you watch right now the price of silver, you watch the price of gold, they're in control. Okay. If they weren't in control, you would see massive explosions every day on silver and gold. Why? Because they're not in control. And when they're not in control, the money supply would force the price explosions because they've made so much money. About your car example, because of the amount of money that's been created, you would see massive explosions every day in the price of gold and silver if they were not in control, but they are. And that's why we need an act of God specifically to cause them to lose control of the financial system. This is a type and shadow of what happened with Egypt and Israel. Okay. There was an act of God. And then Israel departed in the morning, joy in the morning. And this is what we're going to see. We're going to wake up. You're going to go to bed one way. You are going to, those listening, telling you, you're going to go to bed one way and you're going to wake up another. And in between there is going to be that act of God that we're talking about. Okay. And that event, God's been putting it on my heart. This thing's about to go. Okay. So we're so close that this thing's going to happen. Okay. And like we've said, position yourself and wait. Everybody who's listened to us, done what we've done, we personally have been buying gold and silver. Okay. And we and all that listened are in a great financial position right now. And you haven't seen anything yet because we haven't seen the explosion. And like Andrew said, with the money creation that they're doing and all this money that's been going on around the world, the thing is, we need a new financial system. Okay, so let's talk about financial systems. The Federal Reserve System is a system of money creation out of thin air. No one knows where it comes from. They just make it, okay? Now, when a new system comes online, like Andrew's saying, it's going to have one word. Well, 2 words. Gold, actually 3 words. Gold, silver, backed. Okay, so whatever this new system is, however it is birthed and is going to come forward with Trump at the helm, okay, it's going to be an act of God, a massive financial event that happens, price explosions on precious metals, and then a new system will be birthed that ties in with the golden age. Literally, the golden age has nothing to do with the Federal Reserve System. Okay, it's a new monetary system, which takes us back to what Nixon took us off of, the gold standard. We go back to a standard of gold, honest ledger, honest money. That new system has nothing to do with the Federal Reserve System. It's a totally new system. However it plays out, I don't care. Because when it happens, Andrew and I, and all those who listened to us were wise stewards and thought that what we were saying makes total sense, are going to be we all positioned ourselves and we're all going to be in one place on the correct side of history. That's all I'm saying. Okay. And with that said, Andrew, let's go back to, people look at their digits, their bank accounts. They look at their 401ks, their digits. They look at their IRAs. What do they see, Andrew?
They're just seeing dollars on a screen. They're only digits. I once heard Elon Musk talk about, I actually saw a video where he's saying, like, look, what is $1 billion? I mean, if you're trapped on an island somewhere and you're looking at digits on a screen, what good is it to you? It has no value. So you need to have tangible assets. I talk to people that are financial advisors that do invest with us, and they've bought gold and silver from my company, and they'll say, like, I don't really support the idea of gold and silver as like an insurance policy for your portfolio. But financial advisors do say that you should have at least 5 to 20% of your portfolio in gold and silver, even if you don't believe in it. It's insurance on your investments. And I think nowadays we're seeing people do a lot more. I've got people now doing like seven-figure retirement account rollovers into gold and silver, specifically, Bo, because we've talked about the January high of $121 an ounce. It's sitting at $73 an ounce. I believe that's a $48 difference. So if you calculate the percentage of how much is silver down percentage-wise from $121 an ounce to where it is today, I'm going to guess it's about 40%. So it's down 40%. So literally, if you buy silver today, you're getting it at 40% less than what it cost at the end of January. But to make things even more exciting, since silver's sitting at $73 an ounce, if silver were to go back to $121 an ounce, it's not a 40% gain. It's more like almost a 70% gain from where the price is now. The math is real simple. If it's at 73 and it goes up, say $48, okay, that would be $121 an ounce. That's got to be about a 70% gain from where silver is now. I don't know what else out there really gives that type of outlook, because Bo said earlier that history repeats itself. In trading and investing, most of the time when an asset hits a certain price and then drops from there, it usually goes back and tests that high. So for me, the idea of owning silver and thinking that if it were to go back to where it was on January 30th is about a 70% gain, it's a no-brainer. It's not even been 6 months since January 30th. It's been more like 5 months and a couple of days. So to me, I love the idea that silver could return to $121 an ounce. I think it's a great investment. I'm not trying to give financial advice. I'm just saying, like, look, this is what it's done. We're not even talking about what the projections are by the experts and what we think biblically it could get to. We're just saying this is how much it would go up if it went up to $121 an ounce.
I want to say this. There's the truth and there's lies. Okay? Let that sink in, everybody. God cannot lie. He can't. Okay? So if God speaks something, it's not a 10% chance or a 50% chance. If God speaks something through his true prophets, okay? And so I've heard several say this, okay? But if he spoke, he can't lie, and he spoke through his true prophets. You know what he said, Andrew? That silver is going to not go up again. It's going to go up. It's going to blow and explode through $121. Okay, so that was not opinion. Okay, this is not Andrew saying this. This is not Bo saying this. Okay, this is God speaking through his prophets, and God can't lie. This is what he said. So if the prophecy is true, this isn't a 50% chance or an 80% chance. This is a 100% probability based on prophecy that was spoken that this will happen, which means that there is, in terms of risk, none, because God spoke it. Not me, not Andrew. It's a prophecy, okay? So if you believe, and I'll leave it here and then Andrew can wrap up. If you believe in prophecy and things that we've been speaking about that have been prophetic and what's been happening with precious metals and why the 73, why it went through $50 and why these things are happening, it's all prophecy. We don't live in political times. We live in biblical times. And so prophecy is we're going to see a price explosion through $121. I believe it comes this month. Okay, whatever. I don't even know. Let's just say it happens this year, okay? Or next year, or even the year after. Who cares? If it's going to explode through that number, it doesn't matter where you buy it at. You just want to be positioned and waiting upon the Lord. That's it. That's all I want to say. And so with that said, Andrew, a lot of people, they reach out to you Why? Why do I use Andrew? Because he's probably the fastest in terms of delivery that I've ever seen of all the dealers I've seen in North America. Okay. In addition to that, he's got the greatest onboarding, whatever service he's got for those people that got the 401ks and IRAs. It's super fast. And you need super quick when it comes to this stuff because there's not a lot of time left. So that's why I use Andrew. He's my preferred person that I would recommend, and we have a relationship for a long time. Why? Because he's honest. I've never had complaints that some Andrew has something weird has happened. And, because all you hear a lot on the internet is people, they do this stuff with gold dealers and then the money disappears or the money takes forever for the gold and silver to show up. You just hear horror stories. Okay. There's no horror stories with Andrew. He works with General Flynn, Clay Clark, Eric Trump. I'm just telling you. So huge reputation. So that there is zero issue to be concerned of. And then it's just a matter of, do you believe what we're saying? Because if you believe what we're saying, if you believe in prophecy, to be not positioned in gold and silver, I think is like, I don't know what people would be thinking, but that's all I have to say. And so with that said, let's wrap it up on people who have 401ks, people who have IRAs, and they're pay per digit IRAs, pay per digit 401ks. They have bank accounts with a bunch of digits in there, but let's say they don't own gold or silver. What do they do?
Well, what they can do is they can roll over their 401k or IRA or government TSP or inherited IRA, simple IRA. Almost any type of retirement or pension type account can be rolled into a precious metals IRA. And you can...
This is your link to your account.
If you scan that, you go right to our website and you can schedule a consultation. And I just want to share with a great story about a client of ours that had only done cash purchases with us that had reached out to me personally about, it was a year or two ago, and she had scheduled an onboarding call with the IRA custodian, which means that she intended to roll over her retirement into a precious metals IRA. And she sent me a message a couple of days before that meeting was supposed to happen. And she said, hey, for unforeseen circumstances, I'm not going to be able to proceed with what I wanted to do. So I just completely let her go. I didn't really try to give her a hard time and say, hey, what changed? You were going to do this. I know that people need to do this in a comfortable way, in a way that works for them and their family. Oftentimes people need to pray about it. And I don't want to be the typical firm where we try to bully you into doing this with us. We're not that at all. So she reaches out to me last week, and she says, Andrew, I've got to be honest with you. The reason that I canceled our appointment the time before is that I tried to speak with my financial advisor, and I wanted to liquidate those funds. And my financial advisor said, you're crazy. You don't need physical gold and silver. And she said, but I want to feel safe. I want to insure my portfolio. She said, I want physical gold and silver. She said, I can't offer you that, but I could sell you ETFs in both GLD and SLV, which are paper gold and silver. So here we are, like a year to 2 years later. She made some money with it, and she's pleased with that part of it. But she told me that the reason why she reached back out to me is because she didn't feel safe. She said that she didn't feel that being in stock market gold and silver was going to protect her the way that physical gold and silver would. And we talked about the solutions, and she said, I would like to go ahead and roll it into a precious metals IRA. And I said, all right, well, let's get you started. And I just said, how do you plan to approach your financial advisor who you do need to liquidate your assets? How are you going to handle them when you want to do this? And she said, I will hold my ground. I will be strong. It's my money. It's not theirs. So she ends up talking with him. He won't liquidate. He schedules a call for the next day with him and one of his associates, which is probably a higher up. They try to talk her out of it. And ultimately, she liquidated it. And her account's funded yesterday, and she actually made her gold and silver purchase yesterday. But the point of the story is that Bo and I give the message. She learned about this from me and you talking about this on podcast. She knew what to do. She was led down a different path. Good thing it didn't really hurt her too bad. And she found her way back to us. Why did she come back? Because we don't bully people for not doing business with us. If you need more time, you can have more time. But there's no better time than the present. And she actually did do it. I'm proud that she was strong, but we're out there helping people. every single day, I have people call in to do distributions. That's where you take a certain amount out of your retirement account every year or sometimes every month to live off of. And I analyze people's accounts and I go, wow, these people did a $100,000 purchase and now it's worth $240,000 2.5 years later. And we're seeing this happen all the time. We're out there doing a lot of good, Bo. And I hope that people can scan that QR code and schedule a consultation. It doesn't cost you anything. It's just a conversation between our company and me or one of my associates explaining to you how gold and silver can help you. And if you opt to not do it, that's fine. We know that if you do change your mind, you'll come back to us. But many people do choose us. So I hope to hear from many of you, because right now is a good time, like Bo said, to reposition your portfolio and do it before the metal starts heading back up to $121 an ounce for silver.
So, Andrew, I want to thank you for that story, because again, it just, it warms my heart to know that people actually listen to us. And again, all we're giving is not advice. We're literally telling people how the system works. They create money out of thin air, get you to believe that it's money. And then people, because you believe this money is money, it's just a belief, they create it out of thin air. The world is enslaved with money creation out of thin air that's backed by air, because it's not even backed by oil anymore. I just want to thank Andrew for coming regularly on the show with us, because again, it warms my heart to know that people actually listen to us. And we've done such an incredible job out there on educating people so they can make their own personal decisions, free will decision on what to do with their personal finances. That's all this is about. Pray on it. Let the Lord speak to you, but let it soak into you, and then go back and watch this podcast that we did. Go back and listen to it. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. And if you can find one thing that we said is not inaccurate, because everything we said here is 1,000% accurate about the financial system, right down to what the brokers will not let you get out of the system. They want to keep you in the system, just as you heard through Andrew. So Andrew, with all of that said, take us out. Anything else you want to wrap up? But again, thank you so much for being here. And, again, I truly appreciate, our friendship. And it's such a blessing to hear these awesome stories of how people, finally come around and make some great decisions in their life. So thank you, Andrew.
Oh, thank you, Bo, for having me. It's we'll be in Reawaken America in Tulsa here in about 3 weeks together, and it'll be fun. We talk about this all the time, Bo. We're going to get stopped while we're trying to talk with people, because other people that are clients of ours that have invested in gold and silver are going to tell us their success story, and I hope that they keep doing that, because on some days when it's maybe a little bit of a grind and we need a little bit of a push to get things going that day, I remember those stories, or somebody tells me a new one, and it really kind of keeps us going. So it is not the end of the story. We've got gold and silver have a lot of room to move up, especially since the dollar and other currencies are not going to be continuing the way that they have. Eventually, it's going to be something that's digital and hopefully gold or silver backed. So get in before it's too late, and get in and just buy it, set it, and forget about it. That's all you need to do. Just put it away. When gold and silver hit a new high, that's when you pull it out and look at it and be glad that you made that decision to own it, because it's the only asset that you can truly own and take wherever you want to go. So please reach out to us.
Amen. Thank you, Andrew. Again, like we've always said, position yourself and wait. God doesn't lie. He cannot lie. He did state through the prophetic voices that $121 will be broken, and it's going to explode through that, okay? Again, so those of you who are anywhere near Tulsa, come and see us. Andrew and I are going to be there, not this weekend, but the weekend of the 19th and the 20th. This is going to be an epic event. I hear it's pretty much almost sold out. There might be a few tickets left. So again, if you need to reach out, if you want to go to this event, again, there's a link on my website. And again, you can just Google this contact and reach out to them, get a hold of Clay, and get to this event, because it is going to be awesome. And I honestly believe we're going to be celebrating at this event, Andrew. So we'll see how this plays out. But I do truly believe that something historic's about to happen. And I'm just really excited about this month of June for everybody. So God bless everybody. Andrew, thank you as always for being here. And we'll see everybody soon. Amen and amen.
Beverly Hills Precious Metals Exchange is a client-focused firm devoted to assisting our clients with precious metals. Our clients range from first-time to serious coin collectors and investors seeking to add precious metals to their investment portfolios. We are not interested in volatile investments, leveraged products, and intangible assets. With rising inflation and the devaluing of the dollar hurting middle-class families, investing in gold and silver ensures protection for your hard-earned money. Save the value of your money today by investing in gold and silver at Beverly Hills Precious Metals.
A prophecy of millions dead and morgues overflowing. There is a question humanity has been asking for thousands of years. Is there a power greater than government authority, greater than money, and greater than all the systems we believe are unchangeable? Could God be real? Most people choose not to answer that question, because answering it means facing a truth they may not be ready for. But one man has answered it clearly, with specific timing, sequences, and events. His name is Polny, and his prophecies are not merely controversial. They force listeners to reconsider everything they once believed to be true about this world. Today, we are talking about the story of a chiropractor, a man who left behind his clinic and a 20-year career to pursue what he calls a divine mission. And what he saw on that journey may be unlike anything you have ever heard before. He speaks of the coming 4 terrifying M's, the multi-headed serpent, the mythical Hydra, being cut down one head at a time, and the golden age that is about to arrive. The doctor awakens and returns to the one truth: God is real. In 2017, in California, there was a well-known, wealthy, and successful doctor who did something everyone around him thought was insane. He sold his clinic, not because he was bankrupt, not because of scandal. His clinic was doing well. He was one of the most highly regarded and top doctors in his local area, with 20 years of practice and a solid reputation. So why did he do it? Because after achieving money, recognition, and everything the world had to offer, he asked himself a question, the same question many of us have asked, only to quickly push it aside because we fear the answer. Am I living to pursue my own personal gain, or am I meant to follow a higher calling? That question would not leave him alone. Then he entered the gold and silver markets after the events of 9/11, though no one understood why, not even him at first. But during his research, he discovered something that shook him to the core. The greatest turning points in global financial markets, events that even the world's top analysts could not consistently explain, aligned with a time cycle recorded in the book of Daniel in the Bible. He checked it once, twice, 10 times. It was no coincidence that he became the only person in the world to accurately forecast the 2011 tops in gold and silver. Then, in May 2017, at his wife's request, he applied this same method to Bitcoin. The result was remarkable. He accurately forecast Bitcoin's price trend for that entire year, at a time when no one else was doing anything comparable. He has continued applying that forecasting approach to this day and believes that biblical-level price movements are set to begin in 2026. He later wrote a book titled Revelation: The Good News, and became a name followed by millions. One statement he repeats often is, "We are not living in political times. We are living in biblical times." If he is right, then everything happening in the world right now, wars, financial crises, political changes that cannot be explained by ordinary logic, is unfolding according to a much larger script than what we see in the headlines. What makes Polny different from thousands of self-proclaimed prophets on social media is that he does not speak only in vague generalities. He stakes his reputation on specific predictions. When he is wrong, he admits it. When he is right, the market proves it. And on many important occasions, the market and world events have proven him right. From the stock crash of 2020 to the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, to the start of the Israel-Hamas war, the overturning of Roe versus Wade, the FTX crash of November 2022, and the April 21st, 2025, death of the Pope, to name only a few. That is why people continue to listen to him, no matter how unbelievable some of his claims may sound. He also says that at times he receives guidance through dreams, not vague, hazy dreams like people often describe, but dreams with specific timing, images, and chart sequence. In those moments, his accuracy has been so high that even he cannot explain it through any mathematical model. But before discussing the prophecy itself, we must answer a foundational question. Who is truly controlling this world? Not presidents, not prime ministers. According to Polny, the true controlling force is a financial system that has infiltrated every corner of human society, from politics to media, from education to healthcare, and has operated in the shadows. Think of it this way. You go to work, you receive your paycheck, you pay taxes, loan interest, rent or mortgage payments, car payments, and tuition. At the end of the month, you look back and barely have anything left. Meanwhile, the banks, institutions that created that money out of thin air simply by entering numbers into a hidden system, continue collecting interest from you month after month, year after year, for your entire life. Human beings appear to be free, but in reality, they are living inside an invisible iron cage of debt slavery and interest. Polny calls this the modern version of Babylonian slavery. He describes the system as a multi-headed serpent, whose tentacles have long stretched across the entire earth. So who is cutting off its heads? Polny uses a very specific biblical image, David facing the giant Goliath. God did not say, sit down and negotiate. He said, in effect, cut off his head. He compares President Trump to David, and he views current geopolitical events involving Venezuela, Iran, and transnational drug cartels not as Trump starting new wars, but as ending wars that have been quietly raging for decades without resolution. Each force that is removed, he says, is another head of the multi-headed serpent being cut off. But Polny openly acknowledges that Trump cannot finish this task alone in the remaining years of his term. The forces of evil, the swamp, have taken root too deeply and spread across the world. Therefore, according to Polny, God must intervene directly in the affairs of the earth. And this is where the four disasters beginning with the letter M appear. The four terrifying M's Polny says that before the Golden Age arrives, humanity will undergo a global exodus, much like in the days of Moses. He describes the events that are about to unfold as beginning with the terrifying four M's. The first is millions gone. Millions of people will vanish, not die in the ordinary sense, but disappear. These are people who, he says, have given their souls over to evil and whose bodies have become possessed or parasitized from within by the Nephilim spirits of old. They look like ordinary people. They live in society like ordinary people. They may be politicians, celebrities, or even members of royal families, but inside, they are no longer human, and when God acts, they do not die the way ordinary people die. They disappear. Polny points to Pharaoh in Egypt as the example. Pharaoh claimed to be a god. He remained stubborn through 10 consecutive plagues and refused to yield. Then, on the final night, the angel of death came down. In one night, all the firstborn sons of Egypt died. Polny says history is repeating itself in our time. The second M is millions dead. This wave is different from the first. These people do not vanish. They die. A pilot suddenly disappears while flying a plane. A driver suddenly disappears behind the wheel, resulting in mass casualties. The plates shift. Volcanoes erupt. The ground shakes. The images are those of the great and terrible day spoken of in Joel 2:31, scenes no one will ever forget. It is like a 9/11 day on steroids, unfolding across the world. And once the power of God is revealed, no one can stop it. No government, no army, no defense system. The third M is morgues filled. The number of deaths becomes so great that the systems of modern civilization for handling the dead can no longer contain them. This is not a metaphor. It is not poetic imagery. He says this will literally happen. The fourth M is months to bury the dead. This is the one worth pausing over the longest. When a prophecy does not simply say, many people will die in some vague way, but specifically says it will take months to bury the dead, you realize the person speaking is not merely inventing dramatic language. That level of specificity sounds like someone recounting what he has seen, not something he has imagined. Polny himself says, I know this sounds crazy, but this is how God works. I know this event will happen. I do not know the day, but it is imminent. Then he speaks of Noah, building the ark for years while enduring the mockery and ridicule of his entire village. The sky looked beautiful, as it always had. People back then were no different from us now. Practical, demanding proof, unwilling to believe what their eyes had not yet seen. Then one day, the rain began. The ground broke open, and cities disappeared. Those who laugh at prophecy today, he says, are exactly like those who once laughed at Noah. 3 events that changed the world in 2026. Bo Polny does not speak only of disaster. He speaks of an ordered process, what he describes as 3 major events, a type and shadow of the book of Exodus, that will change the world. The first event is the spring angel of death, followed by a wealth transfer. Just as in the book of Exodus, the angel does not come to destroy everyone. He targets evil and passes over the children of God. According to Bo Polny, the coming wealth transfer will operate according to that same principle. Wealth will move from the hands of the globalists into the hands of ordinary people. The wealth does not disappear. It is transferred, just as written in Proverbs 13:22. The wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous. The second event is a fall Red Sea miracle, the removal of evil, including the kings and princes of the earth. Not negotiation, not compromise. The waters of the Red Sea close, and the pursuing army disappears without a trace. This is the second act of God, and no man can stop it. The third event is his glory descending upon the earth, the fulfillment of Numbers 14 verse 21, ushering in the start of the final harvest spoken of in John 4 verse 35, which declares, "Lift up your eyes and see that the fields are white for harvest." This is the stage Bo Polny calls the most anticipated of all, the moment when the golden age truly begins. He says that when that day comes, there will be no need for explanations, because everyone will see these events with their own eyes. As Daniel 2:34 states, "While you are watching," it sounds epic, almost mythological, does it not? But let us set fear aside for a moment and consider this. If this prophecy is true, what would the world on the other side look like? According to Bo Polny, it would be something far beyond any science fiction scenario. The IRS, America's notorious tax agency, would be abolished. Bank loans, mortgages, and student debt would disappear, and people around the world would experience a kind of freedom they have only dreamed of. The entire financial system built on debt and interest would be replaced by a new system based on real gold and silver, things with genuine value, not imaginary numbers on a screen. And strangest of all, ancient technologies that were lost or deliberately hidden for centuries would reappear. Not science fiction technology, but technology that once existed, that humanity once possessed, and that was later erased because it was free. Energy, medicine, transportation, everything would be redefined from the ground up. Bo Polny emphasizes one especially important point. When millions suddenly disappear, the evil that remains on the earth, including the evil spirits still operating in the world, will refuse to acknowledge the existence and power of God. According to Bo Polny, their only explanation will be to blame the sudden disappearance of millions of people on aliens. For that reason, he says we should expect the alien narrative to be revealed when these terrifying events begin to manifest. For years, humanity has been conditioned to believe that extraterrestrials possess advanced technologies. But the advanced technology that is about to be revealed to the world has nothing to do with aliens or alien technology. This technology was not created by aliens. It is God's technology. He says to be careful about the origin of what is about to appear, because only God is the creator, and the devil is the great deceiver. The earth is not changing only politically or economically. The earth is about to witness the birth of the glory era, the golden age, for a season, before the evil one-world system finally rises at a future appointed time. All of this may sound abstract, but if you sit with it for a while, it begins to mean something in a way ordinary language struggles to express. This is the window of divine favor humanity has been desperately waiting for. A time of signs, miracles, wonders, flying cars, and future technologies about to be released upon the earth. Bo Polny describes the Golden Age with a striking thought. What happens on earth is merely a chessboard created by God. The only question is, which side do you choose? The Bible says, "Choose this day whom you will serve." The devil is real, and so is Jesus. He also says present-day computer models can calculate forecasts, but they cannot forecast the actions of God. However, before God acts, he sends warnings to the world through prophets. No one is here to force anyone to believe anything. In fact, forcing something like this onto another person's faith is not the right approach. But throughout human history, the most important warnings and the greatest changes were announced beforehand by people the world mocked. Noah built the ark for years while those around him laughed. Then the rain came, and the very people who had mocked him begged Noah to save them. They regretted their disbelief. So the real question is not simply whether this prophecy is right or wrong. The real question is this: if there is even a 1% chance that it is true, do you know Jesus? Do your children know Jesus? That is the question truly worth reflecting on right now. There is only one Savior. His name is Jesus. For God so loved the world that he sent his only Son,